Hello, Culture Matters podcast. I am so excited to introduce you to our guest. Before I do that, here is a quote I picked just for this episode. Price is what you pay, value is what you get. Warren Buffett. Our guest today is a new friend of mine, Ryan Chiodo, a luxury real estate advisor here in Naples, Florida, and the area beyond it. The background in communication, relationships, understanding and working with people, rose to success quickly as a top producer in real estate in the Naples area, learned the builder and developer side of the business, understood REOs and short sales and the distress side of the business, operated an organization in one of the most difficult times in the real estate industry in that Great Recession, moved into the luxury market working with um, clients that are thinking aspirationally around lifestyle. It's one of the biggest brands in the world. And today, as a luxury real estate advisor, um, Ryan can really speak to the gamut from distress to aspirational lifestyle. I'm so excited to learn from you, Ryan. So thanks for coming on the Culture Matters podcast.
Happy to be here. Isn't that what everybody says when somebody thanks them for coming on a show?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
guess it
thanks for having
depends.
me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, well, it's a great privilege, and it's nice to have someone on local because we're here a couple years, and that's important. So now your background was in communication. I found that really interesting. Would you say that that's been influential in how you've been able to navigate the market um, when you first got into when you first got into your career? Was a background in communications advantageous as a realtor to be to set yourself apart?
I guess I'm laughing because college was college was not my thing. So the communication major was I started out at a small school called Oneonta, and I left there after 3 years. My mother basically said, "All right, you're partying too much. You got to get out of here." And she put me at another college, University of Buffalo, with a good friend of mine who was on the football team and kind of academically a little ahead of me. Let's put it that way. So when I transferred, I said, "These are my credits. What major lines up with these credits? Because I need to get out of here as soon as possible because I'm not a good student." So they said, "Well, not a business degree. Let's put you in communication. You only need like 35 credits. We'll give you. You like math? You can do a minor in finance." So that's how I ended up with a communication major. But yeah, I mean, I grew up in an Italian restaurant, so I've been talking to people from behind the bar since I was 17.
Really?
Yeah.
Like bartending?
Yeah, bartending. I grew up, my parents owned an Italian restaurant. My father was the cook. My mother was the hostess. My sisters bartended and waited tables, but I was mostly the bartender.
Well, when it comes to, do you think real estate professionals that have been in the service industry, that's an advantage, neutral, or
Oh, no, absolute advantage. Yeah. Dealing with humans. Yeah. Socially, being able to move fast, customer service. Yeah, I think that helped a lot for sure, actually, now that I look back on it.
wow. What was it like? Because when you started, this is 2000 in the early 2000s. So, uh, how did you, what advice do you have to the entrepreneurs that are listening to this that are just in the beginning of building their books of business, like how you got started in the business?
The one big takeaway is, and it's obvious, is you have to work. You have to actually, if your parents are calling you to go see a movie on a Saturday night, it's like, no, I'm working. Or, you just have to jump in head first with something that you find passion about. I literally moved down here, and it's funny, I feel like I tell the same story every time, but when I moved down here, I moved down here to bartend for a company called WCI. So I ultimately ended up at the Ritz-Carlton Tiburon.
Oh,
And because I was there and that was early 2000s, that development was just getting going. So I was meeting a lot of the agents. And I would meet these real estate agents. And I remember asking a guy one time, how much do you make on a $2 million house? And the guy said $60,000. And I said, holy macaroni. I mean, I think I literally just finished 12 months of working and I think I made 56,000 and I was working at three different places.
whoa.
So that hit home for me. So then I was like, man, I want to do this. So then I just jumped in head first and said, okay, who's at the top of their game in this market. And I found a woman that did a lot of business in there, and I went and met with her, and I said, look, obviously these people aren't going to trust me to take them out and show them property. I'm, driving a 94 Corolla with a ski rack on it. I look like I'm 15. So I pretty quickly realized that people were like, yeah, we're not working with you, kid. Like, so it made sense for me to reference or say, hey, let me refer you to this person that, obviously had the experience. So,
Wow.
yeah, the people that are getting started, like, find somebody that's at the top of their game in a business that you want to be in and study what they're doing, or see if you can go work for them, or, in my case, or in our case in the real estate world, like, find a top producing group or team and see if you can get on that team and learn, and not don't focus on the money for the first 1 to 5 years, and just focus on the, what is this person doing? How are they doing it? And just do what they're doing. I mean, don't reinvent the wheel.
Mm. And when you started, you worked with a lot of builders.
When I started, I worked with this woman for a little while, and then a guy moved down from Ohio that had, I think he had his own real estate firm up there, and then came down here and bought. Yeah, he did. He came down here and started like a startup. So I went to work for him, and this guy was really smart. And this guy had the background of building, developing. He just really understood the game, and I learned a lot from this guy. His name was Terry Rochford. Terry's still in town in Naples locally, but real talented guy. Learned a lot from him, and then I kind of, thought I was too smart to be there. So I said, I want to keep 100% of my commission. And fortunately, Naples has a lot of 100% commission shops. So I went off to, 100% commission shop and started my own little team, and then started my own real estate company. And then, of course, the market crashed. So it's been a lot of this, man. It's been a lot of roller coasters. I think that's probably the same in every business, man. If you want to make it, you're going to have to take a lot of risk. Some people just take risk, go head first, and they just make it right out of the gate. But I guess it depends on the economy and the line of business you're in. But
What do
real
you mean by
estate,
risk?
yeah, you got to take risk. I mean, if you're gonna quit your bartending job, or quit what you're doing, you're gonna have to, and you want to be an entrepreneur, like, you're gonna have to borrow money from somebody and say, I'm starting my own business, because you're not gonna make any money. Typically don't make a lot of money when you first get started out. Now, we're in the day of AI, where everybody can start a business with, a computer and some couple chat GBT and some Claude, and have a good idea and really kind of leverage off of that without employees. So the game has changed completely, but I can only speak from the vantage point of, if you want to get started in our business and what used to work, and I'm not even sure if what used to work works today, to be honest, but um, that's kind of, that's a
How do,
long answer to a short
how,
question. Sorry.
how do you see the industry evolving?
Oh man, it's look, we're in a different market. Naples is kind of, people get off a plane and they, I think they're up north and they're cold, and then they have friends that move down here, and it turns into like, maybe I'll buy a place. So they get on a plane, they come down here, you hook up with an agent, and they say, maybe I'll buy something. And so the sales cycle here is long, pick a time frame, 6 to 10 years sometimes,
Wow.
and you're staying in touch with people. So it's a much more high touch business here. It's not like living in the suburb of Chicago when you meet a young couple that's like, hey, we're ready to buy a house. They already know the neighborhoods, the market, and they're ready to buy usually in like 30 to 60 days. Um, so what was the original question?
Yeah, I'm curious about how you see the industry changing.
Oh yeah. So I don't know, for down here, it's changing in the sense, I mean, it's just, I guess that's what I was getting at. It's a lot more high touch. So it's really hands-on with whether you're with buyers or sellers. I mean, you used to be able to throw a lockbox on a house. It almost didn't matter the price range, and the people would go in, they would turn their own lights on, and they would figure out, if somebody liked it or not. Now it's not that. You have to agent a company most showings, so that you can meet the buyers there and answer questions, because everybody's in a gated community down here. And every community is different, and every community has different fees, and every community has different reserves, and. So it's just, it's a lot more complicated. So the consumer, whether buyer or seller, it just expects a lot more from you. And
You worked in when the Great Recession. You did a lot of short sale, foreclosure, REO, distress. Is that correct?
yeah, yeah, we did a lot of short sales. I had sold to quite a few investors too. So I had assisted them in short sales, and then I started a property management company to help them rent the properties that we couldn't sell. So there again, I mean, you just have to be a chameleon in any market. Like you just have to shift with the times.
I'm curious what that experience has, if uh, prepared you when with or given any insight into how to work with the luxury, super luxury, ultra luxury clientele. Are
You
there
know,
things that you picked up in
yeah, I
that?
guess I went through the same experience with them because I had amassed a pretty significant real estate portfolio. So
Really?
yeah, and I thought that I was doing the right thing because I was putting down 20%. A lot of people were putting down like 5 and 10%. So I'm like, oh, I'm being more responsible, so to speak. So the market had crashed, and I had a little company, and I had employees, and I didn't want to fire anybody, and everybody kept saying, oh, 18 months. Now this will turn around in 18 months. So I kept everybody on. I kept paying all my mortgages. If the rent was 3,000, the mortgage and all the bills was 6,000. So I was upside down on all these properties. I was losing a lot of money every month. And so anyway, I don't want to go in too deep of a dive on that, but I guess it taught me, you know, asset protection. Um, I learned a lot of valuable lessons in life. Like don't extend yourself because that can quickly times can quickly change. So, in doing that, you just learn a lot of lessons that helps you kind of help people down the road navigate, whether it's, hey, look, you should be buying things in you have a significant net worth, you should be buying things in a land trust for obvious. And there's a lot of people with a lot of money that just don't know this stuff because it's not what they do every day.
Hmm.
So I've been through a lot. I've done a lot of startups. I've owned a lot of little businesses. So yeah, that helps you in the luxury market. And then now, and then I've belonged to several different golf clubs in town. So, a lot of people down here golf, and that's a kind of a luxury thing to do. So,
Hmm.
um, when you're in those circles, it's a little easier to have more in common with those people. And then that's really one of the ways that you can kind of penetrate that market. It's an expensive game, but you got to go out and buy the nice car and wear the Rolex and join the clubs and go to the places that they shop, dine, uh, socialize, and then that's the way in. But it's it's a long road and it's expensive. It's expensive to get around those people.
As you have and served that clientele, are there similarities of how the ultra successful view risk and think through these uh, experiences like you shared of with leverage and things that stood out over time that
Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, I think if you're in your 50s or 60s, you've been through enough of these ups and downs that's why a lot of people they've been waiting to jump back into either the market, the stock market, the real estate market, because they're like, man, how many times can I get my head taken off? And you've got sellers that are like, well, I can afford to hold this. So why I don't need to sell. And they use everything as the high watermark. So it's like, well, during COVID, my house was worth this. And you went up to sometimes sometimes 350%. And they're trying to hold that high watermark. Well, the only way you can hold that high watermark is if you have a really special piece of property. It's in a good location, even within the community. It's updated. It has all the, bells and whistles, right?
yeah, I'm curious about the mindset, the wavelength that we would have to, us listeners, have to think and act to earn the opportunity to serve the most successful, or like what that journey even looks like. So
Well,
yeah, you're in a very special, unique position.
yeah, I mean, look, in our business, we don't have anything to sell other than our trust and our, you know, I try to tell people, like, if I can finally get in front of somebody, I tell them, like, look, you'd be advantaged by working with me. I mean, I've been doing this a long time. I buy and sell for myself. I'm a partner at a construction company. I've owned title companies. I've owned insurance companies. Um, I have great mortgage relationships. I have great legal relationships, title companies. Um, when you're dealing with somebody that's been doing it this long and has been doing it this long for themselves, it's like, look, I look at real estate every single day. So um, the bottom line is if you can get in front of one person and do a really good job for that one person, well, and they have a good experience, they're going to tell their friends, right? So if you can, sell an expensive house to somebody that's really successful and that person has a good experience, well, that person, you know, they're successful. If somebody comes down here and buys a $7 or $8 million house and they're self-made, right? That person has a pretty good EQ, meaning they can read you. They can tell if they're advantaged by working with you or not. If they feel that way, they want to tell their friends. It's like going to a Ritz-Carlton, right? You go to a Ritz-Carlton, you have an unbelievable experience. Like, man, you got to check this place out. And that's in real estate. We try to every time provide a really good experience for somebody because that's you want referrals. We're in a referral business. So
Well, this is
if you're fortunate to get around somebody that has money and wants to buy luxury real estate and develop and do those things, well, you better do a really good job. So, leading up to that, all the mistakes that you've made and all the lessons that you've learned, you know, you can when you finally do get in front of that person, they're going to look and go, wow, this guy actually knows what he's doing. I've sold a house on like every development down here. I mean, there's not a place somebody gives me a street address, I can pretty much tell you what neighborhood it's in.
before we hit record. You you were doing deals
Yeah, exactly. In
in
your
our
neighborhood.
area.
But so I think, the people that come down here, they come from they're substantial. They have money, right? And they're usually very educated and very well traveled and they know their thing. So if you finally do get that at bat and that person's like, well, my friend lives in Gray Oaks and you don't know anything about Gray Oaks and you don't know what it costs to join there or how many holes of golf they have or how close it is
Wow.
to downtown Naples or why the consumer even buys there, you know, I can tell you all of that in 3 seconds. So it's you kind of real estate's not as easy as everybody thinks it is. They're always like, "Oh man, you're just lucky." And it's like, no, I've actually done this 15 hours a day for like 24 years, and now I
Wow.
know all of this stuff, and I continue to educate myself every day, so that when I finally do get an at bat, and someone says, "I want to sell a house on the beach in Bay Colony," I can say, "Oh yeah, that's the Strand. There's only 10 or 15 houses there, and Bay County has its own beach club, and it's close to the Ritz-Carlton on the beach, and just any of that stuff."
Like AI before AI.
Yeah, pretty much.
Real intelligence.
Yeah, exactly.
You,
That's
so
exactly.
I wrote down, so trust, but be in the room. You have to
Yeah,
get in the
you
room.
you've got to get in the room, but then once you're in the room, you better know what the hell you're doing, you know, or you're gonna get excommunicated pretty quickly. They're gonna go, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. Brian, how much does it cost to insure this house? Right? It's a $10 million house. What does it cost to insure this? If you don't have like two or three really good insurance guys or know why they should buy that one versus the one next door, maybe one's in a flood zone, one's not, literally it could be, on this in the same neighborhood.
Wow. So
It's just
you
it's
looked
like
at,
anything now. You got to be a subject matter expert no matter what you're doing. And a lot of people, I mean, I'm pretty spread out, unfortunately, at the moment, selling in Naples, Bonita, Estero, Fort Myers. We're in the process of moving back to Naples now, but yeah, you got to really be a subject matter expert, no matter what you're doing.
you've looked at real estate daily for 24 years.
Literally, I go on the MLS every day and I look at. There's a dashboard in the MLS that says active, pending, sold. So I look at those three categories every day.
Why?
So I can see what's going on. But this house has been on the market for 400 days, and I'll click and I'll look at this stuff. Oh, this house was on the market for, oh my God, it sold 25% under asking price. Or, and I have all these saved searches set up for a lot of my clients, but then if they call me and go, hey, I saw whatchamacallit just went pending, I can say, yeah, I know I saw that. Or I saw this just come on the market. Yeah, I know I saw that. And then you just it helps you keep abreast of the market so you can kind of get a sense of what's going on.
And can you unpack a bit on the idea of doing a good job for someone? It almost seems obvious, but like Munger, you can't teach a new dog old tricks. The
Yeah.
what do you mean by doing a good job for someone, getting the at bat and crushing it? What does that look like?
Well, it's all about, life is about expectations. So when you get in front of a buyer or a seller, that's the first thing I ask is, what are your expectations? What are you hoping to gain from this? because you want to meet expectations. So if it's a buyer, it's, how soon are you looking to buy? First, I'm just going to ask a bunch of questions, right? And then based on how they answer the questions, then I know kind of where to perform. It's like, and then I can, on the buy side, I can say, do you expect me to be available? And the nice thing now is I used to ask these questions before in the hopes that I could get a buyer's agreement signed. Well, now it's kind of mandatory. So, but so on the buy side, you just want to make sure you're meeting their expectations. So, I can set you up on a saved search, so you're going to get emails, every day. The second something pops up that fits your search criteria. And then how often do you want to hear from me? Do you want me to call you once a week, once a month? Do you want me to call you every time a property comes up? And then so that's like the beginning, right? So you're establishing how often they want to be communicated with. And then once it's under contract, well, that's a whole new set of standards. And that's the reason that I have a team. There's a lot of people that do this on their own. I don't know how in the world they provide the same level of service because literally, I've had an assistant from the time I was licensed for 16 months before I had an assistant full time. For the
Wow.
first 12 months, I didn't sell anything, so I didn't need one. But after that, I was like, man, I need somebody to help me with all this paperwork. And these people are calling me all the time. I'm trying to sell stuff to the next person. How am I supposed to? I'm just managing your contract. How am I supposed to get on to the next guy? So I've had a team around me for pretty much my whole career. So now today, if you're a buyer and you go under contract, well, let's just say you bought in where you live in Wilshire Lakes. Was I supposed to say that? Sorry.
I didn't even hear it.
Oh, because I was going to say, is it okay for me to mention where you live?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. No problem at
So
all.
I was going to say, like, for example, in your development, um, you have two associations in there. So now the buyer has to go in and fill out mas- a master application with Wilshire Lakes and then a sub application with Fieldstone. So my assistant's helping them through this process, right? So I've got a girl that just does contracts. So now I have a girl that does contracts. I have an operations manager. I have a transaction manager. My wife helps me with the marketing, and my wife's sister Angie does all of our social media. Can you hear me okay, Jay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Um, so yeah, that's what I mean by crushing. It's like we just want to over communicate. We want to make you feel like you're checking into a Four Seasons. Like, okay, here's all the next steps. Here's going to help you get through those next steps. Here's what's some of the things that you should expect over the next 30 days. We're going to help you set up an inspection. We're going to help you get through the HOA stuff. We're going to go over the inspection, what they call a buyer's election and seller's response, so that we're going to request things that are defective in the inspection summary get fixed by the seller, and then we negotiate on your behalf. Um, but there's this whole process, and there's 150 things that have to get done from the time you sign a contract to the time you close. So most buyers have a lot of questions. And then
Going back to expectations, where do you see clients get expectations wrong?
um, I think it's more so if a person's never bought a home, they don't know what to expect. And then even when you ask them what they expect, you can't ask them what they expect because they don't know what they expect. So those are sometimes the hardest people to accommodate because you're plugging them into something that's been working for 25 years and then they're trying to go outside of it. Like, oh no, I have my own inspector, I have my own lender, I have my own this. And then their inspector does a bad job, their lender doesn't get the loan the file funded. They want to use their own attorney who just, makes the deal harder than it should. It's just that those are the hardest in my experience. It's the people that have done this before. Those are the ones that when they plug into our little system, it's like, yeah, wow, this is amazing because we're over communicating with you.
What's worked on how to get that person that doesn't know back in alignment? Some best practices that help
Oh
bring
God,
them back.
I think that's just like life. They got to learn that lesson on their own. Yeah, that's kind of hard. If they're not willing to, yeah, we offer all of that. So if they go to outside that, it's like, all right, well, I gotta let you swim, get out of the boat.
Hmm.
Yeah, because you can't.
Selectivity,
What do you mean?
selective, like have you become increasingly more selective as moving into the luxury world?
You would think so, but I still, I got in this business because I like people and I like to help people and I like to do a good job. So no, I still work with first time home buyers. I still help people do rentals if I can. Like I try to help everybody. So that's kind of a blessing and a curse, I guess.
Well, is there a core value behind that, like principles that have worked through?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think that's why I've been so successful. Most of my business is repeat, and it's because I take everything serious, sometimes too personal, but I wanna exceed your expectations. I want to do a really good job for you.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
you said trust is everything. How do people decide to trust you in a few minutes? Like, how do you create,
Well, I think
or do you not?
you have to trust is earned, first of all, but um I think the more they listen to you talk or the more they yeah, I mean, like I said, the people that come down here are pretty well educated and well traveled. So if if they start asking you questions and you don't know the answer to those questions, well, you're not going to be trusted, right? And then it's from there, then it's just now they're in a transaction with you, and then, hey Ryan, I called you, you called me right back. I emailed you, you emailed me right back. I texted you, you text me right back. So it's
Speed.
yeah, unfortunately, that's a blessing and a curse too, because I've made a living by getting back to people instantly, and boy, is that exhausting as you get down the career path and you've sold 1,500 plus homes. Well, that's a lot of past clients, and my phone 11 missed calls in what 29 minutes.
Wow, congratulate.
I
That's an accomplishment.
don't
Wow.
know if that's an accomplishment, but that's one way to get anxiety and heartburn. But uh,
Amen.
and on my voicemail it says, if you can't reach me, you can get a hold of my operations manager, Brittany. And but still, sometimes they just, hey, text me when you can. Like I'm not looking at my text messages right now, but yeah, unfortunately, I've made a living together getting back to people quickly. So if you stop doing that, well, people stop using you, right? It's like they want something now. Everybody wants something now. So
11 in 29 minutes. Well, it's one thing I acknowledge you. You taught me something about RHOA just today, that there's two associations. I
oh
was
my God. You
just
got to
thinking about it this morning. Like, I really want to get more involved in the community. Culture matters. I want to live. I was just gonna go to one of our neighbors and ask her a million questions about, and you already taught me something. And you didn't even know I
well,
lived
that's
here.
the thing, and everyone's different, right? So it's like this guy filled out the whole application to the master association, but you can't submit the master association until you do the sub association. So we didn't know that. I haven't been in this whole dual association problem in a while. So he's like, I got to fill out this one first. I'm like, yeah, I was just reading that. You got to fill out the sub association first, and then they've got to get approved. Then it's got to go to the master. These HOAs have too much power.
On back to the because I think a lot of entrepreneurs would like the listeners be in that position that their phone is ringing. Uh, you said it, so. There when it comes to team and delegation, what have you learned through your entrepreneurship of how to approach that, how to navigate that?
I don't do anything but try to find new business and follow up with people that I've already sold to. The rest of the stuff
Huh.
is pushed off. So like if I'm on the other side of a deal and an agent's trying to ask me questions about what's going on with the file, it's just I'm sorry, I'm out of that. Like I don't know anything about it. It's being handled by, Megan, Brittany, Katie, whoever's handling that file. Um, so I don't do anything that doesn't have anything to do with, you know, my father taught me something, when I first got in sales, he was a pretty successful insurance guy. And he said, if everything you have is a function of asking somebody to buy or sell something, how many people did you ask to buy or sell something today? And that thought has never left my head. So that's pretty much all I do. I wake up in the morning, and that's the thing with going on the MLS too. So if I'm on the MLS every day, and I know that like, I have a whole list of now I'm using a CRM, and a lot of that stuff goes out through email or text. But if it's coming from me directly, it's a little different. So if I knew I'm working with a guy that's looking for a place in Oaks Estates up to 5 million, and one comes on the market, or I hear about one coming on the market, I'll pull that off of Zillow and I'll send it to him. I'll say, hey Jake, I just saw this come up. We should go take a look at this. Right. So in the morning, I'm totally just pushing things out from like say 7:30 to 10.
Wow.
And so now in the afternoon I can react. So I'm like proactive in the morning, and then in the afternoon I kind of react.
So you're gathering information, filtering it, synthesizing, and then pushing it to providing it to your customers
Correct.
coming in and going filtering through you. And that's a
Correct.
has that been a ritual? Um, so people talk about this in books and seminars and
Yeah.
things. How um I'm laughing. I mean, yeah, it's funny. But
Yeah.
you've been doing this, so I'd like to understand, have you always done that? It sounds like that's a but
It used to be
for
more
the
phone
times when
calls.
you didn't, like
Yeah. It used to be phone calls. So if I was in my car, I never, that's the thing. If I'm home, the TV's on in the background. I don't watch TV. I don't watch movies. When I'm in my car, I don't listen to music 99% of the time, unless I'm in the car with my buddies. Um, I'm in the car. I'm thinking about who can I call and try to sell something to her? Who can I just re-engage? Like, hey, haven't heard from you in a while. Most of the time when you call somebody, call a client from Chicago that's maybe a golf buddy. Hey, what's going on? No, nothing. Just heading to the club.
hmm.
How's everything going down? Oh, pretty good. And then you just naturally, oh, I just sold a place in so and so. 25% of the time, like one in four, the person that I'm calling will say, hey, my friend is thinking about buying or selling. And so it used to be a lot of phone calls. Unfortunately, people don't like to talk on the phone, or everybody's just so damn busy now that they can't talk on the phone. So it's become a text message game.
Really?
Yeah. So it's
When did you
more
see that shift?
uh, 2019, 2018, maybe.
Interesting. Wow. So what does that look like? Texting during like 7 to 10, same uh content, different media, like different mechanism.
Yeah,
Phone
pretty much.
call becomes text.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm looking at this. How are you doing?
Yep.
Lasered in.
Yep.
How many touches a day? How many people?
I'd say a minimum 50.
How many days a week?
Every day. Pretty much every day. And if I don't like, unless I'm in a golf tournament or I just get completely distracted, but yeah, I mean, I'm just, that's the problem in our business. You're only as good as your last sale. So you better keep your line in the water, man. And when you get one on, just push them through the paces, right? I got one on, now I'm gonna get a contract, now I'm gonna do this, and then I push it on and then I move on to the next. It's like you just constantly have to be it's kind of exhausting. I wish I
That
I wish it was a little more systematic. I mean, I try every day to get systems in place and we get better and better at it, but it feels like the game changes a lot.
At what point would you say, do you think success comes with a cost in your estimation?
Well, I think the older I get more, I'm becoming more deliberate about it. Like, okay, let's I can't continue at this pace because at some point it's just like quality of life. So trying to come up with yeah, I think I've come up with a plan now to be like, okay, my goal is to be done in 7 years. Not done, but like not going at this pace.
Oh, this brings me, that sounds like a massive opportunity for someone coming into the business or already in the business and not really getting their stride yet that wishes that they had 11 people call them in 29 minutes. So, like, I'm curious what you're looking for in mentees and people to potentially join your team that would actually work, like core values wise and how they think. And can we expand on that or if you even do that or open to
I
that?
don't even know how to go down this path because I've trained half.
If we got to do it, I'm dying
I,
because
I,
yeah, I was like, dude,
I've trained half my competition. I feel like I've that's the problem in real estate is anybody that's going to come work for you, unfortunately, they have an entrepreneurial spirit. That's why they're in real estate. So people move on, and it's the sad reality of it, unfortunately. So I don't really have. I'm not trying to grow my team. Like that ship sailed. I'm not trying to bring people in and show them all the secrets and what do I do and bring you into my network and this is all the professional people that I work with. This is all the personal people that I work with, and just it's exhausting. So it's like back to basics. I'm gonna go head down, do my own thing for a while, and then hopefully ride off into the sunset. And whoever's working for me at the time we'll figure out a way to monetize my book, and that's it. But as far as like, yeah, unfortunately, and that's the thing, because I like people so much, that was my natural, like, oh man, you gotta come in and figure out what I'm doing. I want to help you do what I'm doing. And it just doesn't, it's not a business, right? When you build a business, you have employees, and maybe you can turn it into an employee-owned business. And maybe I haven't figured out the stickiness or the sticking points to making people stay, but it's the real estate world. I mean, everybody, I've read books about this. It's just a natural. It's just what happens. So you just unfortunately don't get you don't. It's hard to get a lot of leverage, right?
Mm.
That was part of the way that I had the team set up, was I had leverage because I would just refer out buyers and sellers, and then take a piece of it, and then you could go and do the things that you enjoyed while other people were making you money. But um, it's
What does working with buyers teach you versus working with sellers? Like as a professional.
oh,
Sorry. Hi.
Hi, culture.
work, working with buyers it's the amount of time it takes to work with one over the other is significant. A buyer could take you 2 hours to 10 years. A seller, I can go on a listing appointment and be done in an hour or two, and then it's off to the marketing department, and then I'm just trying to negotiate and sell. So you want to go after listings. The time value money is going as a listing agent. I've kind of transitioned. I made my living with buyers originally, and did really well at it, but it's now it's just kind of complicated with this buy. You have to have everybody sign a buyer's agreement. Some people are reluctant to do so. A lot of people like to go to open houses. Um, Sellers, it's like being married to, if you have 20 listings, you have 20 wives, because now you're, hey Ryan, what are you doing to sell my house? So there's pros and cons to both, but definitely listings that's the way to go.
Mm.
I mean, like I said, literally, if somebody says, "Oh, Jay's thinking about selling his house," I can go over your house in 10 minutes and go, "Hey, Jay, here's all the houses I've sold. Here's my career. Here's my
Yep.
team. I'm the number one guy at Compass in Naples." And you're probably going to go, "Okay, you're the guy." And then I hand everything off to my assistants, and they schedule photography, the sign, the lockbox, the doormat, the marketing material, put it on the MLS. Like 500 things happen, and I didn't do any of them. And then the marketing creates phone calls, and the phone calls are directed to me, and that's what I can sell. So, yeah, buyers are, hey, Jay's thinking about buying a house. When's he thinking about buying a house? Well, it's the second home. So the kids are in high school, they're going off to college. It could be now, it could be in 3 years. And Jay's driving me nuts for the next 3 years, because every time something comes up in Tiburon, he goes, "What about this one?" And I say, "Jay, are you ready to buy that? Assuming you can buy it for that number?" "Well, I don't know. I've just had a million questions about it." Like, okay, well, I'm sitting here with no salary. So unless you're going to figure out a way to execute against this idea that you have in your head, then we'll find somebody else to call.
I got a lot of questions. One is, well, number one is negotiation. What's your philosophy on around negotiation? How do you negotiate for your customers and, and balance the relationship with other realtors and the ecosystem as well?
I mean, every single negotiation is different, right? It's like, if I'm representing you and you're the buyer and you're like, "Well, what should I pay for this?" Then I say, "Well, if I was buying it, this is what I would do. I go on the MLS, I see how long it's been listed, I see how many homes are for sale in the market. Wait, maybe it's in a neighborhood. Well, how many homes are in this neighborhood that are for sale right now? What's the absorption rate?" And we just look at all these different data points and say, okay, based on all of that, does it need to be updated? Blah, blah, blah. Based on all those data points, here's what I'm willing to pay. Okay, if that's what you're willing to pay, here's where I'd like to end up. I'd like to end up at 1,800,000. All right, let me call the listing agent. If I know the person, hey, look, my guy will go to 1,800,000. I'm just going to be transparent with you. What do you think we need to do to get to 1,800,000? Do I come at 1,800,000 and draw a line in the sand? Or do you need me to come in at 1,600,000 so that we can go back and forth a little bit, so that it doesn't look like we choreographed this whole thing? I do that often. I don't do that every time, but that's one strategy of negotiation. And then, there's two parts to negotiation: price and terms, right? So it's like, if you want to get the lowest price, you got to give the best terms. You can't say, I want to pay 1,800,000, but I want to close in 6 months, and I want to finance contingency for 3 months, and I want to put down $5. It's like if you want to pay 1,800,000, well, then you need to be a 30-day close, a 7-day inspection, and you're going to put down 10% in 7 days, right?
Hmm.
Terms are strong, you can get a low price.
Hmm.
But if Jay wants to stay in his house, Jay needs my money to go buy the next house. So then I'm going to say to Jay, hey Jay, I'll buy your place in Wilshire Lakes. I'll give you 700,000. We'll close in 30 days. You can, and then you'll have the money in your account. And you can stay for another 60 while you go to try to find a house. Well, if you really wanted 750, well, now you might take 700.
Why?
Why would you do that?
Yeah, yeah, just for the layperson.
Because I just made an illiquid asset liquid. Now you have all your money. You don't have to stress about the closing. You don't have to stress about the inspection. The money's in your account. The house is no longer yours, it's mine. And now you can take your time. Well, you have kids running around and who knows what's going on. Maybe there's not a house that's available that you're looking for yet. And you say, okay, well, now I have my money. Now I'm a tenant. Now I'm ready to go buy something. And now the money's in your account earning interest or doing whatever it needs to do. And that's called a sale leaseback.
Hmm.
It's just like one option.
What, how, thinking outside the box, is that how much of negotiation and working with customers is thinking outside the box?
Well, it used to be a lot, but I mean, I've seen a lot now. So I mean, if you just, you have to ask the questions. Like if I put an offer in on your house and I put a 30-day closing and you're like, well, I can't close until July because of X. Well, maybe I should have asked you that before I put the offer in, right? So before you put an offer in, you kind of need to know what's the seller looking for. Well, the seller is looking for a sale leaseback, or the seller doesn't care when he sells, or you kind of need to get some pressure points, or so the listing agent's got to give you some look inside the head of the seller to see what are your pressure points.
Do you consider yourself a teacher with your clients?
I mean, it depends how sophisticated they are, but yeah, I mean, for the most part, I've bought and sold more than most people, and I can probably educate you.
Did you want to be an investor early on in your career, or did that come later?
No, it happened early on because I was selling to a lot of investors, and if I sold a $200,000 condo, I made 6 grand, and then I sold it to them, and they flipped it for 300, and they made 80,000, and I made six. So I'm like, what just happened, right? Or somebody does a flip on a $2 million house, and they make 500 grand, and you make 80 grand. So yeah,
Hmm.
it's at some point.
And
You,
that, and you, so you, how about referral partners? Because when I was preparing, it said you built a really strong network of asset managers. Was that intentional? Did that happen organically?
asset managers, where did you read that?
Maybe it's false data. I was using
Okay.
AI.
Yeah, okay. No, referral partners, meaning like, that was part of the reason that I joined Engel and Volkers back when I did, and then I joined Compass when I did, is that they have a big network of agents. So you can go to all these different events, and then the people that are at the top refer, and people in any office refer to each other, but it's a little easier when you're in the higher selling class. Like you're doing a lot of business. So people are like, oh yeah, this guy does a lot of business. I trust him more than I trust that person. And that's just kind of the reality of it, right? So referral partners to mean somebody from Compass just called me from Boston, said, hey Ryan, I looked you up. You were the number one agent in Naples last year and wanted to refer to. So this is a big client of mine. I want to make sure they're in good hands. So, you kind of and that's something that we focus on a lot is we try to find agents in other feeder markets to send us business and likewise, right? We don't refer out a lot in Naples, unfortunately, because most people are coming here, but we want relationships with people from the Northeast, Midwest, Kansas, St. Louis, whatever. Um, and reaching out to those partners because then it's a 25% referral back and forth.
What advice do you have for the realtors that listen to the show and how to build and maintain realtor relationships and for them to be collaborative despite there being a degree of competition?
Um, for them to be collaborative in what? Just establishing relationships. I guess it's
Like,
stick with.
because we've had over the years various realtors on the show, and there seems to be a broad spectrum of how of how professionals choose to work with one another through deals. Some you know seem to have been ostracized from others, and others like are like raving fans. I could think of share some positive out in Philadelphia. Mike McCann, the real estate man. A lot of uh, people always say how great it is to work with Mike, even people that don't that I've interviewed or come across. Just
Yeah.
positive things, right? And then others, not so much. So advice that you have on what's worked for you, what hasn't, that you've learned from on establishing realtor relationships throughout your career while competing with them for your clients.
Well, I think the personality of the person you're working with has to work, right? If you're like a high energy person and, you know, you're not going to work well with somebody that's like an engineer. Um, and that's not always the case, but sometimes the case. I think it's just important to line up people's personalities. So, like, if I have somebody that I'm referring to Boston, for example, and it's somebody that's, whatever their personality is, I need to make sure that the person I'm referring to lines up. That's the most important thing. And it's important, if I'm looking for referral agents, I'm going to line up with them too. So it's like if I meet somebody at an event in Miami and it's all Compass agents, I kind of get gravitate to the people that are similar to me, right? Because I know that we're going to have a lot in common.
Mm, mm.
So and then it's easier for us to refer business back and forth because the people that I'm working with are drawn to me because of my personality, and the people that they're working with are drawn to them for their personality. So it's you
And you're
got.
thoughtful of how you make that connection.
I think it just happens by accident, but yeah, when I look back on it, yeah, that makes sense.
Ryan, I'd love to have you back another time at some point. This has been a personally very inspiring reminder to do the simple things extremely well and pay attention to them. Example, like that thing that could have got done yesterday that I've got to get done as soon as this ends. And just talking to people and being intentional about that. I really love that. That's been a really helpful, inspiring reminder. Oh, and also just right information. The amount of time that you've invested in mastering your craft and having value to provide to your clients is inspiring to me. Listening to that today.
Well, thank you. I'm glad I could be of some sort of, I don't know, service.
Yeah, yeah. I like, getting the phone to ring. One last question on that. How many years would you say working towards that mastery did it take to get the phone to ring?
Well, I can just tell you early on. I'll tell you what kind of catapulted my career. It's kind of a strange story, but back in 02, 03, one of the first deals I ever did was a rental. And a buddy of mine had a place that he owned on the beach. And he said, "Hey, could you get this rented for me?" And I'm like, "Sure." I was excited to do any kind of business. So I asked my biological father at the time, I said, "Hey, this guy's got a condo on the beach. I want to rent it. What do you think I should do?" He's like, "Why don't you put it in a northern newspaper?" So I think I put it in the Boston Globe. I did like a little 3-line ad. It was $750 to run it on a Saturday and Sunday. I was like, Jesus, that's a lot of money. And I must have got 10 phone calls. "Hey, Ryan, is that place available in Naples?" "Yeah," I rented it out. I made a couple grand, maybe. I can't remember.
Wow.
So I remember I was telling my dad about the story, and I said, "Yeah, my phone rang off the hook." And then I did a deal on a new construction condo in Tarpon Bay. WCI was building condos in there. And so I'm like, I'm gonna run another ad. So I ran a little ad in a classified paper, and it said, "New construction condos from the low 200s, 10% down, close in 12 months." I must have got 100 phone calls.
Wow.
So speaking of phone to ring, I mean, that's when the phone started ringing, and then that's when I got really, and then I went from that to doing like 5 major newspapers up north. And then I started a team. So when your phone's ringing that much and you're selling that much at that pace, and then it kind of pushed me into my career.
Well,
Um,
my takeaway is like you get the phone to ring, you you've already done the work. It's like Abraham Lincoln. If I have 7 hours to chop down a tree, it's 6 hours to sharpen my blade. You know what
Yeah.
you're doing. You're prepared for the
Yes.
opportunity because you're involved in the community. You're a part of the
Yeah.
club. You're with the people. You're reaching out. You're staying in touch. You're doing the simple
Yeah.
things.
Nobody,
No,
nobody wants to hear, "Oh, hey, Jay, just checking in." I don't ever do that. There's no checking in. It's like, "Hey, Jay, last time we talked, you were living in Wilshire Lakes. You got any friends living in there? One just came on down the street from you for like 200 grand. It's a pretty good deal." I'm telling you about a deal.
you're
Hey,
bringing something valuable. It's not
correct.
just
Even if
you
it's not
taking their
value,
time.
yeah, even if it's not valuable, it's starting a conversation in and around something that I know that you might not know.
You're not just the chatty Cathy.
No, I don't have time to.
You're giving value, and it's not necessarily a long conversation. It's a valuable one.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm going to know right away whether you are interested in buying or selling yourself, or you might know somebody that's interested in buying or selling.
For the listeners, this is exactly this is gold, I believe. So, thank you so much for coming on the show, Ryan. I hope we get to do this again. It's been a pleasure. Where can people can that are let's just say that are leaving either well, do people leave Naples?
They do. They've been going to like Nashville, and that whole halfback thing is real. And see,
People-
we've had people going back to where they grew up, if they're in their 60s or 70s, and they're saying, "I got to get back to get closer to the grandkids." Now those
Okay,
people
so,
are coming
so for
back
the
too.
people that might leave and the people that are coming in, how can they connect with you to hire
Tell them
you?
to text me. It's the fastest way to get a hold of me.
You want to share your number or put in the show notes?
Either way, 239-248-0551. Put in the show notes too. You can give me a
Ryan, thanks for doing this. This has been a pleasure, and I hope we do it again. If you're listening to this episode, I would share this to someone that wants to be the best in their field, and of course, someone buying or selling, moving to uh, Florida. I'm sure Ryan knows somebody that they should know
yeah.
as well.
We've got them in all markets. I can point you in the right direction anywhere. I just sent my buddy to Dallas with a good agent.
There you go. Culture matters. Your culture matters, my friend, and we will see you next time on the Culture Matters podcast. Thank you.
Jay, I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Take good care.